Okay, awesome. So welcome everyone. This is another weekly edition of Uma's Spirit Chat with Friends. Today I have no friends. Literally, no, I mean figuratively. You know what I mean? Because we do have everybody getting ready for summer vacation. So we are doing more Uma chats with Uma. All right. Hi, Michelle. Welcome in. Welcome in. So I am recording to YouTube. I am recording to Facebook. So that's why if you feel like I'm kind of like talking, I'm looking out to see also the comments and stuff on Facebook and whatnot. So my plan is to talk for like 30 minutes, of course, about my topic tonight. And then the last 30 minutes, if there's anybody here who wants a card, I'm going to go ahead and pull a card for you. All right. And the topic today is you had a spiritual awakening. Now what? So I think it's safe to say that the majority of us that are in the spiritual community, we know that we've had a spiritual awakening. We probably don't know all the steps of that or how that actually came about. We just kind of ended up here. And then it's like, okay, what do I do now? Because I'm noticing everything, I'm seeing everything, but nothing makes sense, right? It's a good place to be. It's a place I was 20 years ago, and how my life has changed, from when I had my spiritual awakening to now. It's amazing. So I like to talk about it. I wrote a book about it. It's called The Awakened Life. Shameless plug by Uma Alexandra Bpat on Amazon, The Awakened Life. And I offer a lot of mentorship programs for students who are really invested. They're really locked in. They've seen the other side of the matrix. They're like, this is not what I thought this was going to be. Right. So I do a lot of mentorship. So my experience for this talk today is really from being the CEO of a metaphysical center for the past 13 years, working on all these clients and students and noticing the trends. There's lots of trends, patterns, if you will, between all of us that are going through the spiritual awakening. Hi, Rachel. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So the one thing I'll tell you guys is that what I noticed about a spiritual awakening is that it tends to happen to people in their late 30s, early 40s. Yeah. Yeah. Now, that's not to say that people can't come to you earlier than 30s or later than 40s. I'm just saying the majority of people that have a spiritual awakening, I've just noticed from my own two eyes, it tends to be in the 30s and 40s, because that's the people that come to me and find me and are very much more interested in investing in themselves. I think for the most part, and I say most because I have a couple of 20-year-olds at my center, right? But I can say for the most part, 20-year-olds are more focused about, their reputation, their life, their goals, their dreams. They're more focused on the outwardly. And then people past the 50s and stuff, like I think they're kind of slowing down, right? They're kind of like, well, I've kind of been around here for a while, kind of done it all, seen it all. I'm just ready to kind of relax, right? Again, I'm talking very generally because this is not true for every person over 50 or under 30. Absolutely not, right? But I do get the stray person here and there that are from the other categories. The majority of people that come to me are in their 30s and 40s. And I think it's because we've all met this point where we understand that it doesn't matter how much I do, it'll never be enough. That's the truth of it. No matter how much I do, it's never going to be enough. I will never get all the laundry done. I will never get all of this house looking pristine at the same time. I will not get all the children acting right, right? One's always going to have attitude, or one's always going to be doing something or the other. So you reach this point where you're like, I can relax a little bit. I can chill out. And that tends to happen in your 30s and 40s as you grasp that you're not going to get it all done. You're not going to finish everything. And that's when you start turning inward. And also for a lot of us in this age range in the 30s and 40s, death becomes more of a topic for us, right? Because we realize like, that's when we start to feel the aches and pains in our body. That's when we start to feel the slowing down of our memory. My memory is not what it used to be. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast this morning, right? So we are coming face to face with our own mortality. So that's why I think it triggers this need for people to have spiritual exploration, spiritual development, and things of that nature. It seems on time too. You know, your teenage years were to just be taken care of, spoiled, pampered by your family. Your 20s were about your friends and having fun. Your 30s is really like about settling down, getting that family life going. And then like your 30s, 40s is like, all right, I got all the things in place. What else is next for me? Right. So that's what I think is that when you have a spiritual awakening, it comes at the time when you've accepted that there's more to life and I'm ready to explore what that is. So what does a spiritual awakening look like? Several key factors I've picked up over the years. The first thing is the losing the interest in things that just used to always interest you. So for me, I came into my spiritual awakening in my 30s, like I said, and I just noticed I would rather go to a drum circle Friday night and go to a bar. I would rather take the money that I would have spent on a wild weekend away with my friends, partying in some Caribbean country, to take that money and go to like a yoga retreat or learn how to meditate or take a class in the, the metaphysical arts. So when I started having those shifts, I was like, okay, what's going on, right? Like, am I going crazy? As I'm sure a lot of people who are having a spiritual awakening feel, it's like, am I going crazy? And the answer is no, you're not going crazy. It's just though that you are beginning to understand that I have been doing a lot of busy work, but I haven't really been being. What I mean by that is we're human beings, we're not human doings, right? So how many of us just really allow ourselves to keep going and doing, and not just allow, and then, even that, let's say you plan 10 events for this weekend. How much of the time are you really invested in enjoying the moment of that event? Or is your mindset in a place where I'm ready to like move on to the next thing, or I have to get to this next thing? It's always the next thing, which interestingly enough, people tend to do in relationships as well. And I hear that mostly from my male clients, right? I had this one male client who said, it's just never enough for her. It's never enough. We were dating and he loves her. He truly loves her and she truly loves him, but she couldn't just relax in a moment, And he was like, we're dating. And then she wanted to get married. Then we got married. Then she wanted to have a baby. Then we had the baby. Then she wanted to have a house, a big house. And he's like, does it ever end? Right? And that's how we are in life too. So when you have your spiritual awakening, it's because you're looking at your life and you're saying, things aren't the same anymore. I don't feel the same the way I'm supposed to. And then you start to feel like an outsider just because other people seem to still want to have the party going on, right? So it doesn't have to be partying, by the way. It could be, say, you've always bowled your entire life and you're part of a big bowling team and all your friends bowl and your parents bowl and everybody bowls. And then you just wake up one day saying, I don't want to bowl anymore. But because in that community of people, no one else woke up like you and said, I don't want to bowl anymore. That's why you feel like an outsider. But you're not. You're not an outsider. Actually, it just means that in that community, you woke up. And because we live on such a large earth, millions of communities around the world are having other people wake up too. And that's why we find each other. We find each other, we share our stories, because then we realize it didn't just happen to one of us, it happened to all of us. And that's how we found each other. And that's how you create community. Hello. So what does that mean for you? If you had a spiritual awakening, you definitely want to find your community. Now, you can go about that by several ways, right? You can go to, check out the meetup group in your area. So let's say you live in Florida and you don't know of any spiritual related communities around you. There is a website called Meetup.com, Meetup.com, Meetup.com. Let me put it in the comments there. And basically, you just put in your zip code and you say, what is in my area? And you will find everything on there. So you could have like a knitters club, a book reading club, a drum circle, a meditation, right? A Reiki share, lots of things. And then this is up to you now. You have to go and explore, even though you might not have heard what a Reiki share is. read the description, challenge yourself to learn and see what else is going on so that you can go and participate. Because if you're having a spiritual awakening, that's what it's pushing you towards. It's pushing you to want to explore outside the comforts that you've built for yourself and find something new. Because you know what the real reason is for the spiritual awakening? You're not happy. You're not happy. Right? So you become happy by finding yourself. And that is the point of the spiritual development, the spiritual awakening, and the, the growth that is supposed to come from this. Another thing you notice is that people you've hung out with all the time, it could be family members, it could be close friends, it could be coworkers, but you start to feel like you want to drift away from them. Now, because a lot of people are having spiritual awakenings all around the planet, and nobody's getting a mentor, nobody's getting a teacher, talking to them about this, understanding what's going on, they start to feel like the other person's negative. And I'll tell you, 100 times, it's usually no. They're not negative just because you don't like them anymore. They're not negative just because you don't vibe with them anymore. It just means that you are requiring something different. Don't assume that everybody came to this planet wanting to up level, wanting to evolve, wanting to clean up their vibration, clean up their energy. Not everybody wants that, right? So you have to be aware of that, and you have to leave those people in peace and kindness if you can, and then find the people that feel better to you. And essentially, community was the idea of why I created my center 13 years ago, because I could, teach classes online. I could teach from my home. Hi, Nikki. I can teach, remotely, but I have the center, the brick and mortar, building standing, because I am fostering that community. Because the idea is that we need each other. When you have a spiritual awakening, right, you need each other. You're not just here to live this experience for yourself. You're sadly mistaken if that's how you've been doing it. You're here to learn from each other, to grow from each other. But we have it wrong. Because anytime we come around somebody else, hi, Kimberly. Anytime we come around somebody else, we start judging. We either judge ourselves in relation to them, or we judge them in relation to ourselves, right? That's not community. And that is definitely not part of the awakening process. If you have an awakening, a spiritual awakening, which we talked about, you're starting to change, want something different, want something more in life, things don't fit anymore, whether it's a job or relationship, friendships, whatnot, you're just wanting change. And if you go through a spiritual awakening, your next steps is to get into some sort of classes. And that is so many different avenues. I can't even begin to tell you, so many different avenues. So that's why you probably might want to get a mentor, somebody who can coach you and find out like what you're gearing towards, and then go down that path. Because remember, we're not all here to do the same light working abilities. We're not. We're here to do a lot of things. So there's some people who want to go the shamanic route. There's some people who want to go the angelic route. There's some people who want the healer path. There's some people who want the psychic mediumship path. There's some people who want the life coaching path, the counseling path, right? The creative arts path. There's so many things. So when you have an awakening and you realize, wow, I've been in this job for 10 years, I'm not happy. I've been in this relationship for 20 years, I'm not happy. I've been in this life for 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, I'm not happy. Then this is where the exploration comes in, right? You take the classes, you read the books, you go to the events, you meet new people, you expand your mind, you learn things, you apply them in your life. And through all of that, you find your path. Because at the end of the day, the spiritual awakening is calling you to a path. And that is what you want to figure out, is where is that path, right? Now, you can't come to the spiritual path with a type A personality or a logical personality, right? Because you got to leave that back in the earth realm. The logical part of you has gotten you everything that you wanted in the earth realm, the car, the kids, the house, the job, whatever, right? But the logical part of you is not going to get you anywhere when it comes to your spiritual development. When you're here in the spiritual side, it's all about play. It's all about play and joy and expansion and happiness and peace. So a lot of times people come to me and say, I want to develop spiritually. Okay, well, at Lotus, we do, another shameless plug, we do have steps for that. I have a mentorship program that starts in July, right? It's a 6-month mentorship program. I have a 4-week coaching program where I work one-on-one with people, right? We offer Reiki classes, Reiki 1 and 2, so people can learn how to heal themselves, heal their community, right? We have access bars classes where we teach people how to, defeat those negative thoughts, limiting beliefs they have. We teach them how to do that. So we have lots of things at Lotus, as do other metaphysical centers. But you need to have like a mentor that can be like, talk to you and figure out what it is that you're trying to create. I use the term mentor loosely because it could be a mentor, a coach, a teacher, a friend, just somebody who has more awareness than you or has been on the path for a long time who can say, hey, you look like you're gearing towards this place. How do you feel about that? And ask those questions that will bring about the change that you need. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, everybody's going to go through a spiritual awakening. Whether it happens to you in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 100s, you're going to have it. So what you want to do is start preparing for it. And you do that by getting into the mindset that everything that you are experiencing right now is not 1,000% your truth. It's not. Your truth develops as you develop. And what you wanted at 8 years old is not what you want at 18 or 28 or 38 or 48 or 58. So stop holding on to things in your life so hard. Allow yourself to grow out of people, jobs, situations, habits, thoughts. Because if you don't, the awakening process, which is supposed to be very beautiful, very light, very airy, will become quite horrendous. It can become quite a horror story. And I see it all the time because I see people come on and they talk about, this awakening process and how terrible it is or how horrible or painful it was. And I'm laughing because I'm like, well, stop holding on too tightly to the things that are meant to go. Just let go. Right? Let go. You learn to start letting go in life when you start to understand that your soul is the highest divine being in your life. Your soul. But you've started to distrust your soul because you went through bad things in life, right? But did not the bad things in life grow you to get you to where you are? So are they necessarily bad? Rachel says it's like how a lot of people describe Saturn return as their super scary thing. And you know what's funny? I even had a fight with an astrologer because he was trying to say the same thing to me, that Saturn returns are horrible. Can I tell y'all something? I had the best time in a Saturn return. Best time. Because your Saturn return, your first one happens between 28 to 32, something like that, right? 28 to 32 or 29 to 31 or something. And in that time frame, I had 2 children. I got married. I moved into my own place with my husband and kids. I moved states with my husband, left, Florida where my parents were, and moved to Virginia with my husband and kids. I had a great time. It was very expansive for me, right? But again, I think a lot of things you can go through life can be easy if you just have the mindset for it. If you have the mindset for, what you need to go through. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to just ramble on, but if you guys have any questions about your own personal awakening, the awakening process, what the next steps are, or if you just have general questions, please feel free to ask me. I'm following the chat. Of course, those of you on YouTube, this is a recording, so you won't be able to ask me, but for those of you that are watching now, you can ask me anything. Ask me anything. But if not, I'm going to move on to doing the readings. The last thing I just want to say is when you have a spiritual awakening, allow the ego to just die down, because you're going to see a lot of things. You're going to see a lot of amazing things, honestly. And if every time you get very excited over those little things that happen, you know, it's just going to derail you. Like Paramhansa Yogananda said it best. He wrote an autobiography of a yogi, and he said in there that when he started meditating, he started to see so much amazing things. And he would get distracted and he would have to start all over again. The purpose of the path is to stay focused no matter how much wonderful things happen in your life, because yes, enjoy it. I'm not saying don't enjoy the wonderful things, but don't get distracted by it. You know, don't get distracted. There's so much more coming, right? Yes, Nikki wants a card. So I'm going to stop recording this because I don't want people's readings to be on there. So I'm going to stop recording this because this is the recording for YouTube. So you guys hang out here with me and I will do your cards. So thank you guys for coming on YouTube. I appreciate you. And all right, so Nikki, I'm going to go ahead and do a card, and then anybody else, just let me know what your question is. Wait, did I stop record?